All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going deep into this whole world of entrepreneurship. And you guys know how we like to do things here. You bring us some super interesting material, and we kind of sift through it all, try to pull out the most surprising and, most importantly, the most useful bits of information for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
And this time around, we're looking at some excerpts from低風險創業, which translates to low-risk entrepreneurship. And it's a book by Fandang.
Yeah, this book, I think it's really interesting because it kind of turns that whole, like, entrepreneurship has to be risky idea on its head, you know?
Yeah.
Fandang really makes this case that a lot of the ventures that people get into only get risky because of things that we can actually control.
Right.
Like not knowing enough about what we're getting into or making bad choices, you know?
So it's all about being smart and strategic instead of just kind of jumping in blindly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So what were some of the things in this book that really stood out to you that were maybe like surprising points that you weren't expecting?
I think the one that kind of hit me the hardest was this connection Fandang draws between entrepreneurs' relationships with their parents and how likely they are to be successful.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
But he says that all of our early experiences, especially the ones we have with our parents, they actually shape our subconscious expectations.
Wow.
And then that has a big impact on whether we end up kind of naturally going towards situations that are stressful or if we're looking for things that are going to be easier and smoother, you know?
It's almost like we're programmed to be more or less comfortable with risk, depending on how we grew up. Like maybe if your childhood was chaotic,
Right.
then the whole up and down roller coaster of entrepreneurship doesn't seem as scary anymore.
Exactly. And Fandang even goes so far as to talk about cortisol, which is that stress hormone.
Right.
And oxytocin, which is the, you know, the love hormone, the connection hormone.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, if you're always in that fight or flight mode, your cortisol is going to be through the roof, right?
Oh, for sure.
Which could lead to burnout or even, you know, affect your health.
Totally. So what can our listeners do to like combat that, especially if they're already feeling that pressure of starting a business?
Well, Fandang, he's a big believer in building those positive relationships and practicing gratitude.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He even says, like, just taking a couple minutes every day and thinking about the good parts of your relationship with your parents, or even just focusing on things you're grateful for, can actually trigger the release of oxytocin.
Okay.
And then that can balance out those negative effects from the cortisol.
It's almost like hitting the reset button on your brain, shifting from, stress mode to peace and connection mode. I love that he brings in like the science to back this up.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. So let's say we've done that inner work. We're coming into this whole entrepreneurship thing with a good, healthy mindset.
Mm-hmm.
What's next on Fandang's like roadmap for low-risk ventures?
He talks about this core principle, which is solving a big social problem, but doing it elegantly. And he gives all these awesome examples like Facebook, you know, they looked at this problem everyone has connecting with other students.
Yeah, it seems so obvious now, but back then it was huge.
It was a game changer.
Yeah. So what are some other examples that really stuck with you?
Well, there's WeChat, right? And they didn't try to like compete with their own platform QQ. They actually offered something totally different for users.
Right.
Appealing to a whole other part of the market. And then there's Uniqlo Bandis. They tackled that problem of wanting high quality clothes that don't break the bank.
Right. Like everyone wants that. They saw a need and they just nailed it.
Totally. And it makes you think like, what's the problem that I really care about solving?
Right. What's that gap that I can fill that actually helps people?
Exactly. And that's where Fandang has this warning, especially for the inventors out there.
Oh, okay. Why would inventors, people with all the new ideas, struggle in the business world?
Because they get so focused on the invention itself, like how clever it is.
Right.
They forget about what problem it's supposed to solve. He tells this great story about an inventor who spent years developing an automatic car cover.
Yeah,
and you think about it, how many people really need an automatic car cover?
It's like a solution looking for a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can be super talented and come up with all these brilliant ideas, but if you're not solving a real need,
yeah,
it's going to be tough.
It's an uphill battle. And he contrasts that with people like Edison and Jobs. You know,
right.
Edison's team, they didn't just invent the light bulb. They came up with a solution, the filament, that actually addressed a real need for better lighting.
Right.
And Jobs, he totally changed the way we use smartphones. It wasn't just about adding more features.
It's about understanding the human side of it, the real world needs that your invention is trying to address.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the right mindset. We're solving a real problem. But how do we build a business that's going to last something that other people can't just copy.
Well, this is where Fandang talks about secrets. And now before you think like top secret formula hidden away, he's not talking about hiding information.
Okay.
Real secrets are about having something that you can do that other people can't, even if they know what it is.
So it's not about being secretive. It's about having that unique edge.
Exactly.
Okay, so what kind of secrets are we talking about here?
So let's look at Heidi Lo Hot Pot. They're famous for their awesome service.
Yeah.
Seems simple, right? But it's super hard to copy because it all comes down to their company culture, how they train employees, even the way their restaurants are laid out.
It's like this perfectly choreographed thing, all these elements working together to create an experience that you just can't replicate.
Exactly.
So what are some other examples that show this whole secret advantage?
There's Jijia dumplings. They're known for serving fresh dumplings incredibly fast.
Okay.
That speed and quality, it comes from special techniques and ingredients that are hard to find.
So other places can't just copy it?
Nope. And then there's 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
Global giant, right? Their success isn't about one secret. It's about how well they operate everything from their employees to their supply chain to how they develop new products.
They've got it all figured out. It's like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. And let's not forget Gillette. They stay ahead by constantly innovating, even if it means replacing their own products to stay on top.
Wow. So they're not afraid to shake things up.
Not at all.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So for all of us listening, the big question is, what are your unique strengths, insights, or abilities that could be your secret?
Yeah.
What can you do that others can't or won't?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
But luckily, Fandang actually gives us a framework for figuring these valuable business secrets out. He breaks it down into 6 types.
Okay, I'm ready to unlock these secrets. Let's dive in.
So welcome back to our deep dive into Fandang's low-risk entrepreneurship. We were just talking about, building your business around these secrets, these advantages you have that really set you apart.
Right, those things you can do that nobody else can.
Exactly. But how do we deal with, the inevitable bumps in the road?
Yeah, that's the question that keeps so many entrepreneurs up at night. How do we not just, survive those challenges, but actually come out stronger on the other side?
That's where Fandang brings up this idea of anti-fragile business structures. And he actually gets this from Nassim Taleb's work.
Okay.
And it's this idea that instead of just trying to resist shocks in an anti-fragile system, it actually benefits from them.
Wow, so you're not just surviving, you're using those disruptions to grow.
Exactly. It's like turning obstacles into opportunities.
I love that. But I got to be honest, it sounds a little bit like a superpower. How do we actually build a business that gets better when things go wrong?
Well, one of the key principles is embracing what's called asymmetric trading opportunities.
That sounds complicated.
It's actually pretty simple. The idea is you look for situations where the potential upside is way bigger than the potential downside.
So you have more to gain than you have to lose.
Exactly. You're strategically tilting the odds in your favor.
Okay, I like that. So how does that actually play out in the real world, for entrepreneurs?
Well, Fandang, he's really cautious about relying too much on fixed assets, like fancy offices or expensive equipment that don't actually generate revenue on their own.
So those things can become a burden if things go south?
Exactly. They can become liabilities instead of assets.
That's interesting because we're always told, look the part, invest in appearances. But I see your point being lean and flexible means you can adapt faster when things change.
Exactly. It's all about adaptability. And Fandang uses this analogy of a barbell strategy.
A barbell strategy.
Yeah, where you combine safe bets with calculated risks.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So you're diversifying your efforts, not putting all your eggs in one basket. And this leads to another important concept, optionality.
So the more options we have in our business model, the more adaptable we are.
Exactly. It's like having multiple escape routes just in case.
I like that a lot. But building an anti-fragile business, it's not just about structures and strategies, right? It's about the people, too.
It's about building a team that embraces this whole thrive on uncertainty philosophy.
How do we find those people, and how do we nurture that kind of talent?
Fandang talks about this difference between biostate and mechanical state management.
Okay, that sounds pretty technical.
It's not that complicated. A mechanical state system is very rigid, top-down, strict rules and procedures.
Okay.
But a biostate system, it's more like a living organism. It's adaptable, decentralized, and it thrives on feedback.
So instead of trying to control every little thing, you're empowering your team to make decisions, experiment, and learn from their mistakes.
Exactly. You're giving them the freedom to grow, and that creates a much more resilient and innovative environment.
That makes a lot of sense. But how do you create that kind of trust and openness, especially in a startup where the pressure's always on.
Fandang has some really practical advice on this. For example, he talks about the importance of growing talent instead of just hiring it.
So it's not just about filling a position. It's about investing in your people, helping them develop their skills.
Exactly, and giving them opportunities to step outside their comfort zone, take on new challenges.
So we're building a team that can evolve and adapt alongside the business.
Precisely, and this even applies to people who have moved on from your company.
Oh, interesting.
Fandang encourages businesses to stay connected with former employees, create a network of support and potential collaborators.
It's about building a community, not just transactional relationships.
Exactly. It's a much more holistic approach.
I'm really loving this whole biostate approach. It's about creating this dynamic, evolving ecosystem that can weather any storm.
It's powerful stuff, and it's not just about internal dynamics. Fandang also dives into specific strategies for getting customers and driving growth.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation right. A resilient mindset, a product or service that solves a real problem, an anti-fragile structure, and a team that's empowered to adapt and innovate.
Right, we've got all the pieces in place.
Now, how do we get people excited about what we're doing? How do we spread the word effectively?
Fandang is a big believer in word-of-mouth marketing. He calls it the MGM method.
MGM, like the movie studio.
Not quite. It stands for Make Good Men.
Okay, I like that.
It's about turning your customers into passionate advocates who are so enthusiastic about your product that they can't help but tell everyone they know.
They become your biggest fans.
Exactly. He even says 100,000 people saying something is good is not as effective as 100 people screaming about it.
Wow, that's a powerful image. So how do you create that kind of contagious excitement? Is it just about having a great product?
It definitely starts with delivering an exceptional customer experience. People don't just buy products, they buy experiences.
Right.
And they're much more likely to recommend something that's truly delighted them.
Makes sense.
But Fandang also stresses the importance of telling a compelling brand story.
So it's not just about listing features and benefits. It's about connecting with people on an emotional level.
Exactly. And that's where his idea of chemical storytelling comes in.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Fandang says we need to move beyond just giving information. We need to create narratives that evoke emotions and inspire action.
So it's about understanding how our brains respond to stories and using that to create marketing that really moves people.
Precisely. He says we should aim for chemical storytelling instead of just physical book summaries.
I love that. And I think this ties back to having a strong, massive transformative purpose, or NTP.
Absolutely. People are more likely to become passionate advocates if they believe in the bigger mission behind your business.
It's about more than just making money.
Exactly. And Fandang Reading is a perfect example. Their MTP of helping 300 million Chinese people develop the habit of reading has attracted a huge following and fueled incredible growth.
It's a purpose that people can get behind, something that gives the business meaning beyond profit.
Exactly. It's inspiring.
This is all so inspiring, but it can also feel a little overwhelming. Where do we even start to put all these pieces together?
Well, Fandang has some thoughts on that too. He talks about focusing on exponential growth strategies, finding ways to leverage your resources, and create systems that can scale quickly.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do we tap into this exponential growth potential?
He talks about the power of the power law, where small changes can lead to huge results.
Interesting.
He encourages entrepreneurs to constantly look for ways to make their operations more efficient, finding solutions that have zero marginal cost.
So you're serving more customers without significantly increasing your costs.
Exactly. It's about maximizing efficiency. And this leads into his advice on leveraging what he calls lever resources.
Lever resources.
Yeah, these are essentially resources that multiply your efforts and help you achieve much bigger results.
So it's about working smarter, not harder. Finding those key leverage points where a small input can create a huge impact.
Exactly. And to find those leverage points, he recommends forming cross-departmental growth teams,
Okay.
bringing together people with different skills and perspectives.
It's a collaborative approach to problem solving, tapping into the collective intelligence of the team.
Right. And I love how this connects back to the biostate management style we were talking about earlier, fostering an environment of shared learning and growth.
We've covered so much ground already, from building those secrets and creating these anti-fragile structures to empowering your team and finding those leverage points for growth. But I feel like there's one more piece of the puzzle here, one more crucial element to Fandang's approach to low-risk entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you're right. And this last part might be the most surprising and maybe even the most inspiring. Fandang says that we should actually see entrepreneurship as a form of personal growth, not just a way to get rich.
I was hoping you'd say that it's about the journey, not just the destination. It's about the obstacles we overcome, the
Yeah.
skills we develop, the impact we have along the way.
Exactly. He's saying that entrepreneurship, when you approach it with the right mindset, can be so fulfilling, even if you don't become a millionaire. It's about pushing yourself, learning constantly, and contributing something meaningful to the world.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where your passion, your skills, and what the market needs all come together. And that's where
Ah.
those secrets we talked about come in, using your strengths to create something truly valuable.
Absolutely. And when you look at it that way, it takes some of the pressure off. It's not just about hitting financial goals, it's about growing as a person.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. We started with that unexpected connection between an entrepreneur's relationship with their parents and their likelihood of success. Then we explored the power of finding and elegantly solving a problem that really matters and how those secrets can protect you from risk.
We learned how to build those anti-fragile structures that actually thrive on uncertainty, how to empower your team to innovate and adapt, and how to use word-of-mouth marketing and chemical storytelling to really connect with your audience.
But maybe the biggest takeaway from Fandang's book is this idea of seeing entrepreneurship as a path to personal growth and positive impact.
So as you guys start your own entrepreneurial journeys, think about this. How can you use this journey to learn more about yourself? What positive change do you want to create in the world? What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Wow, those are some powerful questions to think about.
Yeah.
We'll leave you with those to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.